When does your money start earning more than you do? Imagine this one fine morning. You wake up, check your account, and realize your money has quietly grown. Buy more than what you earned from your hard work that month. Sounds like a dream, right? That, my friend, is the magical power of compound interest. But when does that magic truly begin? When does compound interest take over and your monthly contributions stop being the main driving force? Today, we're going to break down that exact turning point, known as the crossover point, using real-life examples, plain language, and a sprinkle of humor to keep things easy to understand. Are you ready to find out when your money starts working harder than you do? Let's dive in. The magical power of compound interest. Compound interest, often called the eighth wonder of the world, is basically when money earns money, and then that money earns even more money. At first, let's be honest, it's slow, like turtle slow. You'll look at your gains in the first year and probably feel a little underwhelmed. But if you hang in there, you'll start to see the snowball effect. Let your money roll long enough, and that little snowball will grow into an avalanche. Let's say you invest $10,000 into a fund that earns an average 8% per year. In the first year, you earned $800, bringing your total to $10,800. In year two, you earned 8% on that $10,800. Now it's $11,664. By year three, you're up to $12,197. After 10 years, your $10,000 becomes around $21,189, more than double without adding another penny. And if you just leave it alone for 30 years, that same $10,000 turns into over $100,000. Seriously. That's why, in investing, time is more powerful than the money you start with. In the beginning, you work for your money. But later on, your money works for you, and it works surprisingly hard if you give it enough time. Albert Einstein famously called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Sounds dramatic, but the truth is, compound interest works quietly behind the scenes. It takes time, patience, discipline. The problem? Most people give up way too early. They get discouraged before the magic has time to kick in. So, how long does it actually take before this miracle becomes real? That's where the concept of the crossover point comes in. The moment everything changes. Crossover point. The moment your returns outpace your contributions. The crossover point is the milestone when the money your investments earn starts to exceed the amount you're adding each year. In other words, it's the moment your money starts working harder than you do, and you can finally relax a bit because compound interest has taken the wheel. Let's paint a fun picture. Imagine you're raising a goose that lays golden eggs. In the early days, you have to spend money every day to feed it, just like regularly contributing to your investments. At first, the goose is small and the golden eggs, your returns, are tiny. You're still the one doing most of the heavy lifting. But one day, the goose grows big and strong and starts laying more eggs. So many that the money from selling those eggs exceeds the cost of feeding the goose. That, I'm right there, is your crossover point. From then on, you're living off golden eggs instead of constantly paying for bird feed. Financially speaking, this magical turning point usually comes after years of disciplined investing. Many people agree that the first $100,000 is the hardest milestone to reach. As billionaire Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime partner, once said, "The first $100,000 is the hardest, but you gotta do it. After that, it gets easier." And he was absolutely right. According to estimates, if you invest about $650 per month at an average annual return of 7%, it can take nearly 10 years just to hit your first $100,000. 10 long years to build what feels like a slow-moving snowball. But don't get discouraged, because right after that milestone, compound interest starts to take over. Your money begins to accelerate at an astonishing pace. In fact, analysis from Investopedia shows that around year 9.5 of this savings journey, your investments start running on their own. In the very next year, you contribute about $7,800, but your portfolio earns around $14,833, nearly twice what you put in. A financial expert described this moment perfectly. Once you pass the $100,000 mark, your mindset shifts completely. It no longer feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill. Now you're watching your money gain momentum and roll downhill on its own. Here's the sign to look for. When your monthly investment returns consistently exceed your monthly savings, you've officially crossed into the zone where your money works harder than you do. Exciting, right? From this point on, compound interest becomes the main engine powering your portfolio and your own contributions. They're just a little spark to keep things warm. Real life example, from a slow $100,000 to a speedy $1 million. To make this easier to picture, let's look at some concrete numbers. Imagine you're consistently investing $20,000 per year. That's about $1,667 per month, with an expected annual return of 7%. Here's how things would play out. At $100,000 total invested, your portfolio earns about $7,000 in returns per year, 7% of $100,000. That's still far behind your $20,000 contribution. At this point, you're still doing most of the heavy lifting, still feeding the goose yourself. At $300,000, annual growth hits around $21,000, just above your $20,000 contribution. This is the crossover point, where your returns begin to surpass what you're putting in. From here, the market starts doing more of the work than you. At $500,000, your portfolio now earns about $35,000 a year, almost 1.75 times your $20,000 annual input. It's like investing $20,000 and the market giving you a free used car every year, no strings attached. At $1 million, with a 7% return, your money brings in $70,000 per year. That's enough to live comfortably in many places without adding a single dollar more. Your $20,000 contribution now represents just 28% of what your money earns on its own. You've become the sidekick. Looking at those numbers, what do you notice? The further along you go, the more compound growth takes over, and the less your personal contributions matter. To reach $1 million in this example, you would have contributed a total of $20,000 times 25 years equals $500,000. But that $500,000 didn't get there alone. It generated another $500,000 in growth, getting you to the finish line. In fact, many retirement projections show that by the time you stop working, most of your wealth will come from investment growth, not from the money you contributed. One example, if you invest $650 per month, approximately $7,800 per year, at 7% annually after 34 years, your portfolio could cross $1 million. Out of that million, only about $265,000 came from your pocket. The remaining $735,000, over 70%, came from compound returns alone. Let's put that into perspective. It took you almost 10 years to save the first $100,000, but the next $900,000 only took 25 more years, nearly 3 times faster. That's the real power of compound interest after you cross that turning point. It's the moment you shift from turtle mode to rocket mode. People often say, you need at least $1 million to reach financial freedom. But, as we've just seen, you don't need to wait until you have the full million in hand to start feeling the difference. What matters more is reaching the point where your money starts growing fast enough on its own, even if your total portfolio isn't massive yet. And that brings us to a powerful strategy worth knowing, CoastFIRE, or financial independence on cruise control. Breaking the myth, you don't need $1 million to retire. Before we dive into CoastFIRE, let's clear up a common misconception. You need at least $1 million to retire. Sure, having a big nest egg helps. Based on the 4% rule, $1 million can generate around $40,000 per year in withdrawals. Sounds solid. But here's the truth. $1 million is not a one-size-fits-all solution. The amount you need for financial independence depends on your lifestyle, where you plan to live, and how long you expect to live after retirement. Someone living simply in a small town might need far less. Meanwhile, someone who plans on luxury travel every year might need a lot more. According to a 2024 survey, the average American thinks they need around $1.46 million to retire comfortably. But in reality, the average American has only saved about $88,000. That's a massive gap. And it shows that many people set unrealistic benchmarks that can feel overwhelming. If I'm not even close to $1 million, what's the point? The real mistake? Focusing too much on the absolute number instead of focusing on the passive income your assets can generate. You don't need to personally save $1 million. You just need to reach a point where compound growth picks up the rest. And that's the heart of the CoastFIRE strategy. CoastFIRE, reaching the glide point. Where money grows on its own. CoastFIRE, short for financial independence, retire early, is a strategy where you save a significant chunk early in life and then let that money grow on autopilot. Imagine riding a bike uphill. In the beginning, you pedal hard, save, and invest aggressively. But once you reach the top, your CoastFIRE number, you can stop pedaling and just enjoy the ride down. The momentum, compound growth, does the rest. In financial terms, once you hit your CoastFIRE number, you don't need to save another dime for retirement. Your existing investments will grow large enough over time to support you when you retire. From this point on, compound interest and time become your best friends. Your money keeps working for you, even when you stop actively contributing. Now, this doesn't mean you quit working right away. Unlike traditional FIRE, which aims to retire at 30 or 40, CoastFIRE is more about flexibility. You might switch to a job you love even if it pays less, or take part-time work, or simply stop stressing about saving 20% of your income. Why? Because your retirement plan is already coasting toward the finish line. Real-life example. Let the numbers speak. Let's say you're 28 years old and you've already saved $75,000 in low-cost index funds. You run the numbers and realize, if you leave this money untouched and the market returns a conservative 7% annually, you're golden. By age 48, 20 years later, your money grows to approximately $289,000. By age 58, it reaches approximately $569,000. And by age 63, it crosses approximately $800,000. And remember, that's without adding another dollar. That's the power of early investing. Sure, $800,000 isn't quite millionaire status, but for someone with low debt and modest living expenses, it's more than enough for a comfortable retirement. You've essentially reached the finish line decades early. Now you're just letting time do its thing. Of course, hitting CoastFIRE isn't easy. You'll need to save hard in the beginning, just like grinding up a hill on that bike. But unlike traditional FIRE, which often involves extreme frugality, CoastFIRE gives you room to breathe. You don't have to pinch every penny for 20 years. You just need to save enough early enough, and then coast from there. And as one article put it, once you hit the point where you no longer need to contribute to your retirement fund, life gets a lot more flexible and a lot more fun. Be patient. While your money grows. Here's the bottom line. Investing is a game of planting seeds and waiting patiently. The early phase is the hardest, like the first 10 years just to hit that $100,000 mark. And sadly, that's where many people give up. They bail before the magic kicks in. But as financial advisor Ryan Greiser says, most people quit right before compounding really starts to work. But that's when the magic begins. After that point, you'll start seeing your money grow, faster and with less effort. That's the reward for your discipline and patience. So don't stress about hitting $1 million tomorrow. Your job is to save early, save consistently, and let compound growth take the wheel. One day, you'll wake up, check your account, and realize your money is working harder than you ever did. That's the real power of financial freedom. So where are you on this journey? Have you reached your crossover point yet? Or are you still laying down the first bricks? Share your story in the comments below. You might just inspire someone else to keep going. Thanks for sticking around. Here's to building wealth the smart way and coasting to your goals one snowball at a time.